Ayodhya chapter number 105. In this chapter, Bharatha once again coaxes Rama to take over the kingdom, and Rama gives his counter arguments as to why he is not going to do so. So the first argument that he gives is that there is no one who is independent. And in the previous section, we already covered the fact that every Jivatma is part of the three modes of material nature, but the Lord is never under the three modes of material nature, therefore he is always independent. And a pure devotee who always serves the Lord also becomes independent. Without bhakti, it is not possible to be independent. Now there is a higher level of understanding. There is a way in which the Supreme Lord also becomes dependent. And this is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 4th chapter, verse 63. In this chapter, Durvasa Muni approaches Lord Narayana to find relief from the Sudarshana Chakra which the Lord had released to protect his devotee Ambarish Maharaj. So, Bhagavan says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Aham Bhakta Paradhino Hi Ashvantara Iva Dvija Sadhubir Grasta Hridayo Bhakter Bhakta Janapriya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said to the Brahmana, I am completely under the control of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent. Because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires, I sit only within the cores of their hearts. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. The purport is, all the great stalwart personalities in the universe, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are fully under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully under the control of his devotee. Why is this? Because the devotee is anya abhilashita shunya. In other words, he has no material desires in his heart. His only desire is to think always of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how to serve him best. Because of this transcendental qualification, the Supreme Lord is extremely favorable to the devotees. Indeed, not only the devotees, but also the devotees of the devotees. Srila Narottama Dasa Thakura says, Chhadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Paye Che Keva. Without being a devotee of a devotee, one cannot be released from material entanglement. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu identified himself as Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasanu Dasa. Thus he instructed us to become not directly servants of Krishna, but the servants of the servant of Krishna. Devotees like Brahma, Narada, Vyasadeva and Shukadeva Goswami are directly servants of Krishna, and one who becomes a servant of Narada, Vyasadeva and Shukadeva, like the 6 Goswamis, is still more devoted. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura therefore says, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha. If one sincerely serves the spiritual master, Krishna certainly becomes favorable to such a devotee. Following the instructions of a devotee is more valuable than following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. There is no shadow of a doubt that Dashratha is a great devotee of Lord Rama. Because of that bond that the Lord shares with his father, King Dashratha, who looks at him as a son, the Lord has come off to the forest. Not just King Dashratha, but there are multiple other devotees in the forest whom the Lord would like to see, like Jatayu, Shabari, Hanuman, and so on and so forth. And to satisfy everyone's wishes, the Lord has come off into the forest. Now the Lord says this particular statement to Bharata so that Bharata knows that he should obey the orders of another devotee of Lord Rama, and that is King Dashratha. So, although the Lord cannot be bound by the 3 modes of material nature, he is definitely bound by the love for his devotees. Verse 16. Sarve kshaya anta nichaya patana anta samuchraya samyoga viprayoga anta marana antam cha jivitam. You may accumulate wealth without limits, yet it disappears at some time or another, thanks to the vigilant efforts of thieves, women, and kings. Brahma, Indra, and others occupying exalted positions in the government of the universe are dethroned at the end of their day of power. Our union with wife, son, and friend is simply the precursor of our separation from them after a time. The most fortunate life should sometime end in death. Our sire bowed to the law of the world, departed from this life. It is utterly useless to bewail it. Did I not tell you that it was the hand of fate that sent me to the woods and my father to heaven? We but waste our time in grieving over either. So Rama says that all accumulations of wealth will deplete at the end. A person who attains an elevated position will ultimately fall down, and every union culminates in separation, and every life ends in death. So these are the four certainties that Rama gives in this verse. Now let us examine one at a time. All accumulations of wealth will deplete. So sarve nichaya kshayantaha. So all accumulations of wealth will deplete. In the preface to the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, Bhakti Rasa, however, the mellow relished in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, does not finish with the end of life. It continues perpetually and is therefore called Amrita, that which does not die but exists eternally. This is confirmed in all Vedic literatures. Bhagavad Gita says that a little advancement in Bhakti Rasa can save the devotee from the greatest danger, that of missing the opportunity for human life. The rasas derived from our feelings in social life, in family life, or in the greater family life of altruism, philanthropy, nationalism, socialism, communism, etc., do not guarantee that one's next life will be as a human being. We prepare our next life by our actual activities in the present life. A living entity is offered a particular type of body as a result of his action in the present body. These activities are taken into account by a superior authority known as Deva, or the authority of God. This Deva is explained in Bhagavad Gita as a prime cause of everything, and in Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that a person takes his next body by Daiva Netrena, which means by the supervision of the authority of the Supreme. In an ordinary sense, Daiva is explained as destiny. Deva's supervision gives us a body selected from 8,400,000 forms. The choice does not depend on our selection, but is awarded to us according to our destiny. If our body at present is engaged in the activities of Krishna consciousness, then it is guaranteed that we will have at least a human body in our next life. A human being engaged in Krishna consciousness, even if unable to complete the course of Bhakti Yoga, takes birth in the higher divisions of human society so that he can automatically fulfill his advancement in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, all bona fide activities in Krishna consciousness are Amrita, or permanent. This is the subject matter of the Nectar of Devotion. So Rama is talking about material wealth, material positions, material unions, and material bodies. In Bhagavad Gita 8:15, Lord Krishna says, Mam upetya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddham param gatha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this material world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. So Rama is alluding to this fact that this temporary material world is full of miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Verse 17. Yata phalanam pakvanam na anyatra patanad bhayam evam narasya jatasya na anyatra maranad bhayam. Fruits ripen but to drop to the ground. Man is born but to die. There is no greater danger, no greater fear. Once again, Rama is talking about the inevitability of everything to go through the birth, death, old age, and disease. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosha anudarshanam. Verse 18. Yatha agaram dridastunam जीर्णं भूत्वा अवसीदति तथा अवसीदन्ति नरा जरा मृत्युवशं गताः. A noble mansion with foundations let deep into the earth, with strong walls and pillars that seem to defy the hand of time, serves its purpose for long years and gradually falls to ruin. Even so, men are gradually undermined by disease, age, and care, and are swept away by the torrent of death. Verse 19. Atyeti rajani yatu sa na prati nivartate yatyeva yamuna purna samudra mudaka kulam. The yesternight comes not back. The roaring flood of the Yamuna falls into the sea. Can you call it back? Verse 20. Aho ratrani gacchanti sarvesham praninam iha ayumshi kshapayanti ashu grishme jalam iva amshavaha. Day succeeds day, and night follows night, and each midnight sees another uncared for but nevertheless tangible portion of our life cast aside into the dustbin of eternity. Yet it fails to strike us that we have missed anything. Our short span of years imperceptible vanishes even as the fierce rays of the summer sun scorch up shallow pools of water. Verse 21. Atmanam anushocha tvam kim anyam anushochasi ayuh te hiyate yasya stitasya cha gatasya cha. Idle or busy, active or passive, running or sleeping, we cannot stay the march of time. Why grieve for others when our hands are full with our own griefs? There is no armor against fate. In this particular verse, Rama is condemning false sense of altruism. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 9, verse 29, the translation is as follows. In human society, there are various activities performed for the protection of one's wealth and life, for one's words, one's mind, and one's actions. But they are all performed for one's personal or extended sense gratification with reference to the body. All these activities are baffled because of being separate from devotional service. But when the same activities are performed for the satisfaction of the Lord, the beneficial results are distributed to everyone, just as water poured on the root of a tree is distributed throughout the entire tree. The purport is as follows. This is a distinction between materialistic activities and activities performed in Krishna consciousness. The entire world is active, and this includes the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the bhaktas. However, all activities except those of the bhaktas, the devotees, end in bafflement and a waste of time and energy. Mogharsha mogha karmano mogha jnana vichetasa. Bhagavad Gita 9:12. If one is not a devotee, his hopes, his activities, and his knowledge are all baffled. A non-devotee works for his personal sense gratification or for the sense gratification of his family, society, community, or nation, but because all such activities are separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are considered asat. The word asat means bad or temporary, and sat means permanent and good. Activities performed for the satisfaction of Krishna are permanent and good. But asat activity, although sometimes celebrated as philanthropy, altruism, nationalism, this ism or that ism, will never produce any permanent result and is therefore all bad. Even a little work done in Krishna consciousness is a permanent asset and is all good because it is done for Krishna, the all good Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is everyone's friend. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only enjoyer and proprietor of everything. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Therefore, any activity performed for the Supreme Lord is permanent. As a result of such activities, the performer is immediately recognized. Nacha tasman manushyeshu kaschin me priya kritama. Bhagavad Gita 18:69. Such a devotee, because of full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is immediately transcendental, although he may superficially appear to be engaged in materialistic activities. The only distinction between materialistic activity and spiritual activity is that material activity is performed only to satisfy one's own senses, whereas spiritual activity is meant to satisfy the transcendental senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By spiritual activity, everyone factually benefits, whereas by materialistic activity, no one benefits and instead one becomes entangled in the laws of karma. So, Rama says, why do you have to worry about someone else's grief when you yourself have a lot of grief? Every living entity is going through the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. So without addressing our own issues, how can we address someone else's issues? It is not possible. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Verse 18, King Rishabhadev teaches his sons, Gurur nasa syat, svajano nasa syat, pita nasa syat, janani nasa syat. Daivam na tatsyan na patischa syan na mochayed yah samupeta mrityum. One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. The purport says this. There are many spiritual masters, but Rishabhadeva advises that one should not become a spiritual master if he is unable to save his disciple from the path of birth and death. Unless one is a pure devotee of Krishna, he cannot save himself from the path of repeated birth and death. Tyaktva dehan punarjanma naiti mam eti saurjuna. One can stop birth and death only by returning home, back to Godhead. However, who can go back to Godhead unless he understands the Supreme Lord in truth? Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha. We have many instances in history illustrating Rishabhadev's instructions. Shukracharya was rejected by Bali Maharaja due to his inability to save Bali Maharaja from the path of repeated birth and death. Shukracharya was not a pure devotee, he was more or less inclined to fruitive activity, and he objected when Bali Maharaja promised to give everything to Lord Vishnu. Actually, one is supposed to give everything to the Lord because everything belongs to the Lord. Consequently, the Supreme Lord advises in Bhagavad Gita 9:27, Kit karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yad tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurishva mad arpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. This is bhakti. Unless one is devoted, he cannot give everything to the Supreme Lord. Unless one can do so, he cannot become a spiritual master, husband, father, or mother. Similarly, the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices gave up their relatives just to satisfy Krishna. This is an example of a wife rejecting her husband who cannot deliver her from the impending dangers of birth and death. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaja rejected his father and Bharata Maharaja rejected his mother. Janani na sa syat. The word Devam indicates a demigod or one who accepts worship from a dependent. Ordinarily, the spiritual master, husband, father, mother, or superior relative accepts worship from an inferior relative. But here, Rishabhadeva forbids it. First, the father, spiritual master, or husband must be able to release a dependent from the repeated birth and death. If he cannot do this, he plunges himself into the ocean of reproachment for his unlawful activities. Everyone should be very responsible and take charge of his dependents, just as a spiritual master takes charge of his disciple or a father takes charge of his son. All these responsibilities cannot be discharged honestly unless one can save the dependent from repeated birth and death. So this is what Lord Rama is driving at. Unless and until we know how to deliver our dependents from the path of repeated birth and death, we should never become a guru, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable devata. So this is a very strict warning that Rama is giving over here. When you yourself are miserable because you're in the cycle of repeated birth and death, how can you think about someone else's grief? First, rectify yourself before trying to rectify another person. We will continue with Rama's instructions in the next section as well.